Houston, this is Movies You Missed Podcast, episode 222, coming in for a go, no-go for launch on episode 222. How are we doing out there, V?
You are go for launch.
Going for launch, fantastic. Let's do it. Welcome, everybody. We're here to discuss two NASA-filled films this week. Two movies that, well, one that I had never seen, and one that I think V has seen in the past. I can't remember how long it's been since V has seen my pick. I've never seen V's pick, so it's going to be an interesting episode. Very much excited for this episode since I'm a NASA nut, and I believe V is as well. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully you are strapped in and ready for launch on this big episode. Are you excited, V?
I am, John. I'm so glad to revisit your movie because I hadn't seen it in, at least 15 years, if not longer. I used to watch it a ton as a kid, and then I graduated high school and then just stopped watching it for some inexplicable reason because watching it again this week, it's a masterpiece.
Wow, 15 years. That's definitely a long time. I've been watching it, I don't even know for how long. Well, actually, 1995, we're in 2026, so I've been watching it for 31 years. So it's been a very long time for me. Looking forward to discussing it, and again, I never saw your pick. Your pick came out about 12, 15 years before my pick came out, if I'm remembering correctly. 1983, I think.
12 years, yeah. I was really
Sweet.
really looking forward to introducing you to it, especially given your passion for space and NASA. Looking forward to our conversation. I hope you liked it.
We will get into it shortly. Welcome, everybody. We are Movies You Missed Podcast. John and V, veterans of the entertainment industry. We are here to discuss movies without spoiling them, our big thing here. We like to pull out movies that we feel need to be revisited, movies that we feel have been forgotten, and movies that we just like discussing. And I feel like both of these movies fit the bill for Movies You Missed Podcast, and we've really been on a trend of that over the last month and a half, it feels like.
We've certainly been on a streak of underrated movies or forgotten movies, so I'm liking what we're talking about lately, and I mean, other than The Waterboy, of course, which made a ton of money for no reason, but no, I'm really enjoying the discussions we've been having lately and the schedule we've had, and I think the upcoming weeks are just as good, and we're on our way to October.
Yeah, I can't believe we're getting towards October. It's kind of a slap in the face that time is really just disappearing, and I can only imagine how it felt for these astronauts that were involved in these historical events that we're going to talk about. But before we do that, everybody, let's talk about the movies we've seen in theaters or on streaming over the last week. I know I've seen one or two. V, I think you've seen one or two as well.
I have. I saw one, a big one. So why don't we start with the film you watched over last week so we can get into a discussion about the movie I saw. Okay,
let's do it. I watched a new worst movie of 2026. It is a Netflix-produced piece of shit starring Greta Lee and it doesn't even matter who else. This is a movie called The Last House, directed by Louis Leterrier. And if people don't know his name, he directed The Transporter and a couple other big action movies back throughout the last several years. He actually directed Fast X as well, including Now You See Me. And this movie sucks. And I've had a couple of discussions with people that have watched it as well, and we're all in agreement that it is absolutely terrible.
Okay, I won't watch it.
Yeah, definitely do not waste your 2 hours.
Oh my God.
With this movie that has absolutely no payoff, no exposition, and has some stupid decisions. And there's even Netflix tried to be really cute with a nod to physical media that actually pissed me off. And yeah, I hate Netflix even more now.
I was just going to say the same thing.
Yeah, I hate them even more now.
Fair.
Yeah, so that's what I watched. And now, V, what did you see? Or does it rhyme with you see?
It kind of rhymes with that, I guess.
Yeah, kind of, just a little bit.
I went to IMAX and I saw The Odyssey.
Yeah, I can tell by the tone of your voice that you didn't enjoy it.
It was fine. Gave it an A-.
Oh, brother.
It was fine.
Fine?
I went and saw this movie with a friend of mine, and we were walking out of the theater, and he turned to me and said, if all those famous people weren't in this movie, would we have even cared? And I was like, wow, that's a really good point. I really got into the last third of the movie, and there was some emotional weight for me, but yeah, it just didn't land with me at all. It's a solid movie. It's well crafted. It's well acted. The score is beautiful. So is the cinematography. There's a lot of practicality to it. It was a gorgeous movie, but I just could not get into it. And I think the reason is Project Hail Mary did a much better job this year of telling a non-linear story than The Odyssey did. If they would have started off, I really liked all the parts in Ithaca. If they would have just kept flashing back to starting off with Odysseus and Troy, and then chronologically documenting his trip trying to get home, I think I would have enjoyed following those characters a lot more and gotten some emotional ties to them as they went on this journey. But the way he went back and forth, I just didn't really enjoy. It made it very hard for me to care about these characters. Thought everybody did a great job performance-wise. I absolutely believe that Anne Hathaway is a force. She was my favorite performance in the whole movie. I think she deserves an
really damn
Oscar
good.
nomination. She was so good in multiple parts. Like even in the beginning, she was great. Towards the end, she was incredible too.
Oh,
Every single scene she was in, I felt her pain, and she was the best part of the whole movie for me. But yeah, I was really bummed when I was walking out of the theater, and I went and saw it on IMAX, and I was just like, man, it just didn't hit me. It really didn't.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's too bad. I'm sorry for your incorrect opinion. I'm just messing with you.
Well, it's funny because my sister, who is really critical of movies a lot of the time and doesn't like to go to the theater very often, she and her husband drove way out to go see it in IMAX, and she absolutely loved it. And I was really happy for her, and I'm happy for you and everybody else who really enjoyed it. It just didn't hit the emotional note with me that I really was hoping that it would. It made me want to read the Iliad and the Odyssey again, though, so that's cool. But
Yeah.
And I think I'm done with IMAX as well.
Oh, really?
I have terrible luck in IMAX. Every single time I go, there's someone talking right next to me, there's someone on their phone, there's someone coughing constantly, a row behind me.
Oh.
And the seats were so uncomfortable. And the tickets were $40 for two of us, plus $20 for popcorn.
Yeah.
And I think even more than that because he ordered a drink too. Anyway, so I could go see this movie for less than $10 each at Cinemark. So I'm done with IMAX too. That didn't help the experience either, I'm sure. But yeah, there was this couple right next to me who was having conversations the whole movie.
Oh, hell.
Most of
to
the movie.
Fucking no.
And
no.
I looked at him a couple times. I even put my finger to my lips and I was like, shh. And they just kept talking. I was like, God damn it. And he had a really bright watch too, which drove me crazy because every time he moved, it blinded me. So that really sucked. And yeah, the last time I was at IMAX, there was a guy that was just coughing constantly right behind me.
I remember the coughing guy. Yeah.
So I have bad luck
I
with
wasn't
IMAX.
there, but I remember the story.
I'm not going back.
Wow.
I'll rewatch The Odyssey at home in the future.
Yeah.
I definitely will rewatch the movie. I didn't hate it. And like I said, in terms of the craft, in terms of production value, in terms of everybody's performance, solid A- movie. It's certainly not one of my favorites of the year, though. It just didn't resonate with me.
Well, if I had people talking during the entire movie, I guarantee you I would have had a different experience myself. So that's... I mean, I would have likely been carted off to jail, but that's unfortunate. I am... Oh, man. I'm really pissed off right now to hear this because people are just so fucking disrespectful in the movie theater now. It really doesn't even matter if you're not in IMAX. It just is not... Oh, my gosh.
That's why people aren't going to the movies anymore because it's not forced.
This is why I go at... this is why I go at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday or a Wednesday when there's nobody in the theater.
Exactly.
I used to love being in a theater with people.
That's why I don't care about opening weekend
anymore. Yeah, I same. And the reason why I sit in the row right before the final two front rows is because there's a wall between me and the people. Ooh, I'm sorry that was your experience.
That they weren't as distracting as other movie experiences that I've had, and there were long bits of the movie that they weren't talking. So I don't think that they specifically are the reason I didn't like The Odyssey. It just didn't help my overall experience.
Yeah, no, totally, absolutely. Damn.
It was well done. You did a great job. So I'm sorry I didn't like it. I know you loved it.
Yeah, well, I had a much different IMAX experience than you did, it sounds like, as well. So it is what it is, you know. Maybe when you watch it at home with no interruptions, maybe it'll hit differently. You never know.
Yeah, I hope so.
Sweet. All right, I think it is time to get into the historical events that take place in V's pick back in the 1960s. Are you ready, V, to take us through those events?
I am. I saw this movie for the first time when I was in my early 20s, in college actually, and I watched it a couple more times after that, including getting it from Netflix DVDs when they sent them in the mail. I remember watching it in my apartment in Glendale once. And I've loved this movie ever since I watched it. It was recommended to me on an online forum just because it's notable as a great movie, really well made, a classic now. It's not how it was received when it came out, though, and I'll get into that in a little bit. And I am talking about the 1983 movie The Right Stuff. First thing I'm going to do is apologize because a few weeks ago we swore to each other that we wouldn't do an epic movie episode again for a year. And
Right.
I
Here we are.
scheduled the movies that are upcoming on our list to talk about. My movie is over 3 hours long this week. Your movie is well over 2 hours this week. And then next week,
Yes, it is.
we also have two very long movies.
Yeah, we do.
But they're amazing movies, so I think we're okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, there's no issues really. It's been a lot of fun watching movies, as it always is. But
They're
here we
long.
are, 17 hours later for 4 movies. I love it.
Time well spent, though, I swear.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The Right Stuff is 3 hours and 12 minutes long, but that is because it's actually an anthology, or at least it feels like it. Because
It feels very anthology, very novel-like. Yeah.
good. It was based on a novel written by Tom Wolfe. That is a book that I will be buying you for your birthday.
Hey, all right.
And it covers the space race from the speed of sound up to and through the Mercury program for the United States. So I'm going to start off by telling you all about a woman named Florence Poncho Barnes. She married a minister at 18, and then 10 years later in 1928, she dressed as a man and escaped on a banana boat to Mexico under the name of Poncho.
Ha ha.
She returned to America, taught herself to fly, then became a record-setting test pilot, founded the Stunt Pilots Union, flew in the Hells Angels movie by Howard Hughes,
Hey.
and created the Happy Bottom Riding Club, a headquarters for test pilots and their culture in the 1940s and 50s.
Badass.
And that's where our movie starts. That bar that is in this movie, for a big chunk of it, was Florence Barnes' bar.
Ah, okay.
The woman behind the
Nice.
bar, taking no shit from any of the test pilots, is the character Florence Barnes in the movie.
Well. All right. Now that is all really good information to have.
It doesn't stop there. Her story actually continues, and anyone who's interested should absolutely look her up because her story is crazy. There's encroachment from the U.S. Air Force, there's a mysterious fire, a major lawsuit. Read up about Florence Barnes, everybody. She had an incredible life. And when
Hell
we
yeah.
open, it's actually 1945, and the U.S. Air Force Base has just released the X-1, a test plane that's trying to exceed the speed of sound.
Mm-hmm.
We're right outside of Edwards Air Force Base. This is in Rosamond, California, right near Lancaster, right down the street from where I used to race motorcycles, actually. I knew a bunch of guys who worked at Edwards when I was up there.
Hell
so
yeah.
I'm very familiar with the area, and the filming location is quite accurate. It is dry and flat and windy up there.
Yeah, it is. I grew up in that area. I
You
grew up in
did.
Palmdale, which is about 10 minutes away from Lancaster and Edwards Air Force Base.
And Palmdale was considered a metropolitan compared to those locations.
Yeah.
If you wanted the
Yeah.
nice dinner, you left Lancaster and went to Palmdale.
Exactly. Yes, you did. Yeah. You went to Stierenstein on Palmdale Boulevard for a steak and a beer.
Oh my God, yes. I remember that place.
Do you really? Oh my gosh. I didn't know if anybody remembered that fucking place. I was there like almost once a week with my parents.
And we are introduced to Chuck Yeager. Some of you may recognize that name. He's played by Sam Shepard in this movie. Unfortunately, Sam Shepard died in 2017 from ALS.
Oh, shit. Really? That's what it was?
Yeah, I never knew. That
I thought it was a
sucks.
lot more recent than that, honestly, though. When I saw him show up in this movie and a future pick of yours that I just spent 12 hours watching,
Next week,
I was
actually,
like, oh my
yeah.
gosh, look at this guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, next week's pick. He's shown up a lot.
he has. And,
He was in a previous pick of mine in Black Hawk Down, though. I mean, but that was over 20 years ago.
and the that's how long this podcast has been going. And the Pelican
Yeah.
Brief, and my mom's pick
Oh,
this
yeah.
year of Thunderheart. He was Val Kilmer's partner.
Damn, yeah.
So he's been popping
That's
up.
right.
a
Yeah,
lot
he's
recently.
popped up a lot here at MYM.
He has, and we'll talk about him a little bit more next week too. So he plays Chuck Yeager. He is an incredible test pilot who was in fact the first person ever to go faster than the speed of sound.
That's awesome. I really liked how they showed speed of sound happening back then in that
Yeah.
area of the world. That was really fucking cool.
From the pilot's perspective, that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
He's married to Glennis, and they named his airplane after his wife, which I thought was super cute. She's played by Barbara Hershey, you'd recognize her from Beaches in The Last Temptation of Christ. So now that Edwards Air Force Base is actually starting to get on the map a little bit with test pilots because they've exceeded the speed of sound, things are going pretty well, without mentioning all of the test pilots who are dying.
Yeah.
That's a little bit brutal in this movie, but a bunch of new test pilots come into Edwards Air Force Base, including Gordon Cooper, played by Dennis Quaid, Gus Grissom, you'll recognize him, played by Fred Ward. He's Kevin Bacon's partner in Tremors.
Yeah.
Funny connection to our movies this week. And Gus Grissom's wife is played by Veronica Cartwright. She was a little girl in The Birds, your previous pick.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the one who freaks out completely in the movie Alien.
Yes, she is.
And the woman who plays Gordon Cooper's wife is Pamela Reed. She was on NCIS LA for a while, like 15 episodes.
Was she really?
Yeah, I was wondering if you ever worked with her.
Huh. Pamela Reed. Does not sound familiar.
She's
I will have to look her up.
older. Yeah, she has red hair. You could look her up on IMDb. Anyway, two young guys, one of them played by Jeff Goldblum.
Yes. I wasn't sure if that was him right away because it was a long shot of him running through that hallway, but then I'm like, oh, I think that's totally Goldblum.
Yes, it was. And then we start seeing him a little bit more in different scenes because he is recruiting for a brand new government project against the Russians called the Mercury Project. And this is the introduction to the space race, getting a man up into space before the Russians. Now, all these guys that have shown up to Edwards Air Force Base are really excited about this and sign up immediately, but Chuck Yeager says no. And he says, what, you want me to be Spam in a can? And he decides to stay there. But these other guys are really intrigued and they sign up. And so now we jump forward a little bit and to another location to where all these guys are now training to hopefully be put into space. So this is Gordon Cooper, Gus Grissom. We also get introduced to John Glenn, played by Ed Harris.
Hey.
He has appeared in 4 different aviation movies.
Oh, has he really? Minus the 2 that we're about to talk about today?
Including the 2 we're going to talk about today. He also appeared in Top Gun Maverick and Gravity.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He is he's the voice of the flight director in Gravity. Yes.
And I can't mention Ed Harris without mentioning The Abyss or The Rock, because he's awesome in both of those movies.
Yeah, or The Truman Show, because he's technically the flight director in Truman Show, too.
I mean, he is up in the moon in that whole movie.
Yeah. So true, so true.
We also have Scott Glenn playing Alan Shepard. Scott Glenn is Jodie Foster's boss in The Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
So I can understand how all of you listening are having a little bit of a hard time keeping up because Harris portrays Glenn portrays Shepard, and Shepard portrayed Yeager. All these guys have really similar names to the characters the other ones are playing. So from here on out, I'm just going to talk about the real life characters they are playing and not the actors to make it a a little easier on all of us.
I'm getting fucking confused too. I'm just kind of standing here like, wait, who's Shepard? Harrison Harris is
who's
Glenn?
Up first?
What? Exactly.
So now we have the Mercury 7, who are the original 7 men selected by NASA and our government to go through testing to see which one of them will be selected to go into space. And they are going through some rigorous, insane testing. And I love that they actually showed the real versions of these where it's not all fun and games. Oh, I'm in a capsule and let's see until I pass out. It's like, no, let's stick some needles in your hand and see what happens. Like, there's some rough shit happening with these guys. I felt so bad for them. And I really like that it made it so realistic, though, of what these men went through in order to be the first of any of this. But unfortunately, while they're going through all this rigorous, torturous testing, NASA decides that, you know what, since you're not actually flying this thing, we're just going to shoot you up like a cannonball and let you fall back down to the ground. You're not really doing anything. We just need to make sure someone's going to survive. So I think the best bet would be to put a monkey in there instead.
Yeah, that was great.
That's what they do. They put chimps through some rigorous testing and decide to put a chimp into space first. All these guys are rightfully pissed, but now that they know that a man would actually survive, they decide to put someone up into space. It turns out Alan Shepard is the first one to be picked. And rewatching this movie now, I haven't seen it in about at least 12 years. I remember thinking, why isn't Alan Shepard more famous?
Oh, totally. I know. I did not really know the name.
He was also the first and only man ever to play golf on the moon. So all those pictures and videos you see of someone swinging a golf club on the moon, that's Alan Shepard.
Yeah, there it is.
He's also mentioned in your movie, and we'll talk about it then.
Mm-hmm.
We also get appearance by Werner von Braun, the German scientists. We talked about him a lot in October Sky. He's a German scientist. And just, oh God, them talking about German scientists coming over after the war and the Russians getting German scientists as well. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a part of our history that we don't like to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We pardoned all the German scientists and tried to get as many of them over to our side as possible after the war so they could help us with the space race. If you ever want to read a fascinating book about that piece of history, Operation Paperclip is the book you need to read.
Nice.
It's very, very good. Anyway, back to the right stuff. We now have a member of the Mercury 7 crew who has gone up into space, and things start to accelerate even more, and Gus Grissom is the next man who'd be sent into space. He actually is able to orbit the planet before touching back down, and that goes really well, and everybody's really excited. However, there is actually a moment when his capsule splashes down back into the ocean, as I'm sure a lot of us are aware. Before we built shuttles, they actually had to splash down into the ocean, and we went and picked them up. And unfortunately, the hatch blows, and Gus Grissom's pod sinks in the ocean, and they have to rescue him.
Mm-hmm.
And this really happened in real life. This movie is accurate in a lot of ways. And it is generally accepted that Gus Grissom was actually not at fault. Everybody at first was saying how he freaked out and pulled the lever, and that's why the hatch blew once he hit the water and made the whole thing sink. But instead, the most likely thing that happened was that there was an external release lanyard that came loose. And so once he was knocking around in the ocean, it popped open. And in subsequent flights, a couple of astronauts, including a man named Wally Skira, who's played by Lance Henriksen in this movie, at the end of his space flight, he deliberately activated his own switch to demonstrate that every single person who ever pulled one of those hatches developed a bruise. These bolts would pop back into the capsule, and so you would automatically be hit by something. And it proved that Gus Grissom, because he never had a bruise, actually never pulled his hatch. And it really restored his reputation. And biographies of fellow astronauts, engineers, and even flight directors confirm that NASA never doubted Grissom's innocence.
That's good.
All of them were really pissed that that plot line was in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting. See, I actually thought that was good that it was in there because I guess to an extent it kind of leaves the audience with did he do it or did he not do it? But thought having it in there would have gotten the people thinking, I guess. And maybe it was one of those things where they still weren't sure because this movie came out in in the early 1980s, right? So maybe they still hadn't come to a full-on conclusion or not?
No, it was well established even by that time of them making the movie that wasn't his fault at all. However,
weird.
I think part of it does show the pressure that they're under. And even though this is all brand new, they were expected to be perfect. And
sure.
I think that helped a little bit because this is so intense. And these guys, I mean, I certainly would have crumbled under this kind of pressure. I wouldn't have been able to handle
I don't
it.
even know how I would have fucking dealt with any
I
of
would have
this.
just stayed
No
in bed.
way. I mean, I love roller coasters and thrill rides, and those go fast, and there's no, you're locked in and watching the physicals of throughout this movie, and so many other like movies that have to do with NASA and training for astronauts and whatnot. You don't really see it too much in my pick, but I'm still kind of sitting there like, you know what? I think I could handle it, but then who knows if you're in the thick of it, the real deep shit, as they say in Tropic Thunder. Yeah, how can you possibly have any idea what to expect? Quoting Dr. Alan Grant from Jurassic Park. How can you really know how you would react as a human being after you've just plummeted from the stratosphere, in re-entry, and you're like, get me the fuck out of this goddamn thing. Like, I am
Right.
stuck. I need fresh air. So I can understand why people would think that he did blow it, but then coming about later on that he didn't have the bruise, he was a professional. He was one of the few that was actually lucky enough to go up there, and that's wow, that's intense.
Well, and
That's intense.
And Chuck Yeager even said in the movie, and this is one of my favorite quotes of the movie, it takes a special kind of man to volunteer for a suicide mission, especially one that's on national TV.
Oh, that's for damn sure. Absolutely.
All of their families were under a microscope too, and that's shown really well in your movie this week too. So I like that aspect that they did show the real life issues and pressures, but because he's a real person, it's kind of shitty that they dramatize that piece of it.
It's Hollywood, so of course
Yeah.
it's so weird when it comes to like based on actual events or true stories and the way that they definitely take their Hollywood liberties.
Yeah.
It's weird because then now that I'm hearing this, I'm kind of like, well, why did they put that in there? Like if Maybe it was used because it was so early on in the space race and it was so early on in re-entry and all that kind of stuff. Like, it was one of those things that as an audience, it's something for us to understand. Like, I mean, we don't see him pull the latch, right? Like, it pops out and that's it. So we're kind of like, oh, whoa. And when I'm watching this movie, I'm like, oh, okay, so they actually have this weird like countdown. Maybe they have a countdown inside the module that is gonna like pop the door out so he can get out. But then you watch all these other videos of after re-entry, they're floating there with, you know, the soccer ball inflatables, and they're just floating there in the ocean, and they get on a little lever or something like that, and they get brought up into the chopper. So I guess this is one of those moments where it's like, it's tough to now having seen it and then now hearing about it, because I feel like it's good and bad.
Well, and it gives a movie an opportunity to move on to different astronaut stories. So I think maybe it's
Right.
used as a turning point. So but at the
Sure.
same time, yeah, I definitely could see both sides. But I do like that everybody came out in defense of Gus Grissom, saying like, no,
Yeah.
he was completely exonerated from this. And in 1999, his capsule was located and recovered on the ocean floor near the Bahamas.
Oh, whoa, really?
It was restored, went on a national tour, and is now on permanent exhibit in Kansas.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
See, I'd never have any reason to go to Kansas, but now I
They
might
have
have to go to Kansas.
An incredible space museum, apparently. I was looking it up based on
Really?
the research I did for the movie. Yeah, I was like, who knew?
Kansas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rest of the movie is continuing to follow these astronauts as they work towards beating the Russians for the space race and the evolution that it takes from the Mercury program into full-fledged NASA space program.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a perfect intro to your movie. They even
Big time.
mentioned several of the characters from my movie and yours, which is great.
Oh, yeah.
So, of course, we needed to go in chronological order this week, and since this is the first time you've ever seen it, I am eagerly awaiting your opinion.
Let's do it. I have heard about this movie since I was a child. I bought the double VHS at Amoeba at least 10 years ago and just never watched it. I don't know why. I think it was one of those things where I have a really good piece of candy and I'm just going to hold out on eating that piece of candy until I can share it with somebody. It's just such a weird mentality that I have. Now, granted, I watched The Right Stuff by myself because who's going to watch that with me? My wife's not going to watch a 3-hour movie about NASA astronauts coming up from nothing to going into the space race. So watching it by myself was exactly how I should have watched it. Soundtrack, incredible. Love
Yes.
the soundtrack.
So
I
good.
loved how they utilized the way that Russia was getting forward. I loved how they did, like, I call it the Disney ride effect, where they have the smoke with the Russians in the smoke. That was really freaking cool. And I really like how every time Goldblum comes in, he goes, "Gentlemen, the Russians are up there," and like, "We know, sit down." And they're like, "Oh shit, okay, well of course they know." And then they're trying to figure out exactly like how they can beat them. And then Sputnik goes up, and it's like, "It's called Sputnik. We know, sit down," and like all that kind of stuff. I really liked all that. I liked Harry Shearer and Jeff Goldblum going out to the middle of the desert in California, and Harry Shearer's like, "I'll take a beer in a clean glass," and it's like, you don't ask for a clean glass in a bar like this, dude. Chill the fuck out. I loved the introduction to everybody. I loved the way, like I mentioned earlier, how they utilized the way that the sound barrier was being broken. When I lived in Palmdale, California, and I was in kindergarten through 6th grade, we'd always hear the sonic boom, and all anybody would say was, "Shuttle landed." That's all we ever knew because Edwards Air Force Base was right freaking there. My good buddy Kingsley's dad worked at Edwards Air Force Base, and there was one morning he took me and Kingsley out to Palmdale, California to watch the flight of a first aircraft that he had been developing a jet for, and it was really, really impressive. So I'd seen the B-2 bomber and the Blackbirds. I'm likely getting the terminology wrong for those, but I spent my childhood watching stuff from Edwards Air Force Base get launched and land, and I would always see the shuttle come in. So if we'd hear the sonic boom, we'd run out to the playground and watch the shuttle get flown in to Edwards Air Force Base. My grandfathers, both of them, worked in NASA, and NASA is engraved in my blood. And one of my tattoos in the future will either be a NASA patch of some kind, or I'll get like a black hole tattoo or something like that. But anyway, back to The Right Stuff. I really liked the way that the progression of the story unfolds. Now, granted, it's a 2 VHS presentation, so after an hour and a half, I have to pop in the next tape.
Yeah.
Like I said, music was great, cinematography fantastic, the cast was great. I did not actually recognize Dennis Quaid until about 45 minutes into him showing up on screen. because I'd never seen him so damn young before.
Yeah.
I'd never seen him in the 80s. I've always seen him in the late
Oh,
90s
I
up
need-
through the 2000s.
I need to introduce you to Interspace then.
Oh, I've seen Interspace. I've seen Interspace.
He's super young in that
Okay,
movie.
yes. He is super young, but the movie's mostly Martin Short and Meg Ryan, so
True.
like I don't remember him too much in that movie, and Interspace is a great movie. When Ed Harris shows up, I'm kind of like, hey, look at that. It's Gene Kranz from my pick.
Yeah.
and all these other movies, including Top Gun. And of course, like, breaking the sound barrier, so much of the earlier few minutes of Top Gun Maverick has to be inspired from the right stuff.
Definitely.
So there's
yeah.
there's so many great shots, especially when things go wrong, and especially when Sam Shepard kind of passes the fuck out, like in the middle of a free
Yeah,
fall,
that was
and then
crazy.
like grabs the controls and manages to level out and everything like that.
I think I hit my
But then
head
going
on the
into-
window.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus,
Yeah,
dude.
and he doesn't even eject when he wakes up. He's like, oh shit, no, I'm gonna get this right. And that's the thing, is like these people believed in not only breaking the sound barrier, but really putting the human body through it, like especially at that point in time. And when I'm watching this movie, I'm thinking like, well, hang on a second, because, and I had to actually Google when this took place, because The Aviator is one of my favorite movies of all time. Scorsese, DiCaprio. There's a moment in The Aviator where he is the fastest man on the planet. And that is also, though, back in the 40s. So this is taking place 40s up through the 60s. So I'm sitting there like, sound barrier's broken. Okay, but I remember when Howard Hughes did something like this in The Aviator. Anyway.
He just went the fastest.
movie's-
He never broke the sound barrier, though. That's the difference.
No. You're right. You're absolutely right. No, he never broke the sound barrier, but he was the fastest man on the planet at one point.
Yes, he
and
was,
like
yeah.
hit what he was going into the NASA aspect of it all. This movie, I had to marinate on it, because when it ended, I was kind of like, okay, I was expecting a lot more, and I was not expecting it to be mostly dialogue.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I love my dialogue 3-4 hour epics, Cleopatra. I love them. I really, when really not much happens. My favorite scene, though, is when they're all talking to the German scientists about putting a fucking window in the module.
Yes.
I love
Oh, that
that
was so
scene.
good.
That is so
So good.
fantastic. As a child, up until now, we've always known there's a window in the module. And they always know and can see what's going on out there. And that's where we get the pictures of Jim Lovell and Neil Armstrong and Michael Collins and all these astronauts that have gone up there. Even today, when Artemis just went up, literally less than 6 months ago, we have all these shots from outside the window from the module. So all this shit is so fucking awesome. That's my favorite scene in the movie. But I want to see it in a 4K restoration, truthfully, because I watched it on VHS, and I feel like while I love the preservation of VHS, I feel like a 4K of this would be
Yes.
how it's meant to be seen. And I
Totally
would love
agree.
to see it back on the big screen in like a 65 millimeter or a 70 millimeter, even a 35 mil would be great. But I really liked the movie. I'm glad I finally saw it, because like I've said, I've had it for almost a decade now, and I've just never watched it. And I've flipped through the book so many times at Barnes & Noble, and it's like one of those things where, on top of so many NASA stories that I've read, and we'll get into those a little bit more when we discuss my pick in just a few minutes, but I was expecting more, but when it ended, I was so happy that what I saw was the Genesis, and that's all good. And we needed a movie like that to not only show the people that were still on the fence about it, especially with funding and all that kind of stuff, because there's so many talks about funding in this movie. Like, why are we funding this still? Why would it? And even in my pick this week, and even up until fucking now, people are like, well, why is such and such state funding this project? Well, why the hell not, man? Because at one point, this planet's gonna die, and we're gonna need to go somewhere else. And I mean, granted, Interstellar. But either way, yes, great movie. Thumbs up. I'm glad that I finally got to see it, and I'm glad that we're able to talk about it on the podcast.
I'm so glad to hear that. And yes, you're absolutely right. This isn't as action-packed as, say, even your movie. This is very much a historical snapshot of, like you said, the genesis. And I think that's the perfect description of this movie, of spaceflight, of NASA.
Yeah. Yep.
Of the history of our country. And I really love your description. I think it's spot on, and I'm really glad you loved it for what it was. And the score is really amazing. The first composer was fired, and the composer who came on only got the final cut and had a very short amount of time to write the score before the movie came out.
Wow.
Yes.
Damn.
I'm really
That's pretty insane.
I'm really, really glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you want a 4K copy of it, and it's certainly one of those movies that was worth revisiting. It almost felt like a documentary.
Oh, it absolutely did. Yeah. And I think 3 hours and 12, I think it's either 3:12, 3:13, however long it is the right amount of time. Because, like I said, the way they utilize how Russia starts to get ahead of the U.S. and then how the U.S. tries to at least meet them halfway or even get farther than them is really, really awesome. So yeah, it was a great historical snapshot of what a lot of people may not know about.
I'm so glad you think so, and I'm really happy to bring it to the podcast because I bet a lot of people either hadn't heard of it before or had heard of it but never been able to watch it, and I hope that this recommendation from both of us now helps push you to watching it at some point because it is great. And there's some amazing behind-the-scenes trivia about this movie too, which I'm really excited to share with you.
Let's get into it.
First, that it was written and directed by Philip Kaufman. He wrote The Outlaw Josie Wales, Raiders of the Lost Ark. He wrote the story to that.
Hey.
And he also directed the 1978 Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which I will be discussing this October, I believe.
Yeah, you will.
And he also directed that really intense movie, very explicit, with Jeffrey Rush and Kate Winslet called Quills. Have you ever seen that movie?
I have never seen that movie,
I was too
but
young
it's
when it
been
came
on
out.
I think it was like 2001. So I was really, really young. And I remember seeing it in the calendar in the Los Angeles Times, if anybody remembers when the newspaper was a thing. This is aging V and I even more. But every Sunday I would read the calendar, and the calendar was all the movies and TV shows and music reviews and stuff like that. And I remember seeing the Quills poster with Jeffrey Rush like caressing Kate Winslet's face, and it was like Quills rated R for strong sexual content and all this stuff. And I'm like, ooh, I gotta see this movie. And I still have never seen it.
It's about the Marquis de Sade, so now you know what to expect with that movie.
I didn't know his name at all. But maybe one day. I like both of them. But we're not here to talk about Quills.
No, we're not. We're talking about a much more wholesome movie.
Yeah. Yeah, for being PG, this movie has, 2 or 3 fucks in it?
You know what's crazy? It actually has 4, and it was rated R, and then they fought about it, and it was given a PG rating, and it was the only PG movie ever to have that many F words in it.
Tootsie, I think, has 2, which when we discuss Tootsie, because he says to Terry Garr, fuck you, and it's like, it's a PG movie. So I remember when I was watching The Right Stuff, I'm like, oh, that's 1. Oh, that's 2. And I'm like, okay, so the 80s were a lot less lenient than they have been in the 90s and the early 2000s with the word fuck.
90s was the most lenient.
Yeah. I honestly, I thought the way that it was used was great because it totally makes sense the way that it's used in the movie.
Yeah. And Alan Ladd produced this movie. The Ladd Company was the production company that actually financed and produced this movie. And Alan Ladd actually greenlit and advocated for the original Star Wars.
Oh, nice.
He produced Alien. But unfortunately, with the Ladd Company, not only did he make this and Chariots of Fire, the Police Academy movies, and Blade Runner, the Ladd Company was losing money hand over foot and was not doing well.
That's too bad.
Yeah, it did. And they partnered with MGM for a little while, and then Alan Ladd produced Moonstruck and A Fish Called Wanda. And then he left MGM and was allowed to take 2 projects only. One of them was Braveheart.
Hey!
So he's up there on the Oscar stage when Braveheart wins Best Picture.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
He was a great producer. And unfortunately, Tom Wolfe, the author of the book, was very unhappy with the film because he felt it made too many changes, including the Gus Grissom issue that we talked about earlier. So we definitely need to read the book now.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And while several of the actors wanted to meet their real-life counterparts, Scott Glenn decided not to meet with Alan Shepard.
Really?
He said that he wanted to interview everyone who knew him instead. And through observation and watching videos. And after filming, the real-life Alan Shepard wrote the director Philip Kaufman and said Scott Glenn's performance was spot on, except for not being nearly as good-looking as I was. And at one point, John Glenn, played by Ed Harris in this movie, goes up into space. He actually orbits the planet a bunch of times. And in the movie, there's a specific scene, and oh god, these shots are beautiful. Even the lighting on their faces when they're in the module is so well done. Really, really like those shots.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
But he talks to NASA about these fireflies that he's seeing all around his capsule. And NASA is going, there's no fireflies in space. What the hell is this guy talking about?
Yeah, right.
Well, it turns out that it's condensed ice crystals, and then they get illuminated by sunlight. So there is a scientific explanation for what he was
Oh.
seeing. He wasn't losing it or anything, which I thought you'd
Ah.
really enjoy that piece of trivia.
That is, yeah, that's great.
And one of my favorite things about this movie is, first of all, John Glenn is my favorite character. Ed Harris is incredible and really hot in this movie. Amy Madigan, I totally get it. Your husband's hot.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there. Yeah.
His wife in real life, John Glenn's wife in real life, had a very severe stutter.
Oh, did she really?
That is accurate in the movie. Yes.
Oh, wow. Nice.
The scenes of him supporting her, those are my favorite scenes in the whole movie.
Oh yeah, big time. I love that phone call. He's like, when they're trying to like interview
You don't want
her,
to see
and
the
he's like,
vice
you don't wanna
president?
be
You don't
interviewed?
have to. Tell
Yeah,
him.
you don't. Oh, I love that.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
The guy
good.
keeps running back. He's like, she's saying no. He goes, I'm the vice president. Like, just shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love it. That's
I
my
was on
favorite
board
scene
for
the whole
all of
movie.
that.
Well, they met when they were kids and they were married their whole lives in real life.
That's awesome.
And don't forget that John Glenn became an Ohio senator in 1974 and was one until
Oh.
1999.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, he was very cool.
Didn't know that at all.
Yeah, and so the woman who plays his wife in the movie is the actress Mary Jo Deschanel. She's
Okay.
married to the cinematographer Caleb Deschanel. He was the cinematographer
All right.
on this movie, The Black Stallion, The Natural, The Patriot, Passion of the Christ, and National
Oh, wow.
Treasure. And they are the parents of Emily and Zoe Deschanel.
Well, gee, I figured you were going that direction with this. Good for them. We're going to be discussing a Deschanel and a future pick in the next week and a half, I think.
Oh, I think we are.
Mhm.
And this film used a lot of really incredible visual effects. They did a very good
Oh, yeah.
job. And it was actually the first realistic shots of a spacecraft reentry.
Oh, really?
They-
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, they used a small model of a Mercury capsule, coated it with a flammable material, set it on fire, and then slid it down a 100-foot wire towards a camera.
Oh, nice.
They also pumped it full of liquid nitrogen to create the fog.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of practical effects in this movie, which is very cool.
Yeah, that's great.
There is one piece of this movie that really stands out awkwardly that I've never liked, and I certainly didn't like it this revisit as well. There's a male
Okay.
nurse in this movie who has very obviously dubbed dialogue.
Yeah, okay. All right.
We're going to talk
Yup.
about it.
It was to a point where I paused it for a second and I was even fucking with the tracking because it was VHS.
Yeah,
And
you're
I'm like, there's something wrong here. And then the next cut is like everything's fine. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
uh-huh.
That was super strange.
It was, and it's because they used a man named Anthony Munoz, who is a Hall of Fame football player, but apparently they needed to dub all of his dialogue, so they did. And it was super duper obvious. It was so dumb.
Yeah, dubbing is not something that anybody should do.
No.
I even hate it when I'm like I hate when I'm looking through Netflix and it's a foreign TV show and it's dubbed. I'm like, okay,
No, I prefer.
It makes me
sometimes.
not want to watch it.
Except for when we watched Spartacus, and a whole bunch of dialogue had to be dubbed because of the remaster, and Anthony Hopkins pretended to be Laurence Olivier, and that's really cool.
That was totally cool and totally awesome. Fully fine.
There are some dubbing that is completely acceptable because you can get it past the audience because they did it so well. This was not
Yeah.
done well at all.
No, it was not.
No. The last couple pieces of trivia I have about the right stuff. First of all, to create the space uniforms for the Mercury astronauts, which are very famous and are very silver,
Yeah.
the costume designer used fabrics and other materials left over from from the singer and actress Cher.
If I could turn back time.
I
Good
can't
for them and Cher.
And it's not surprising. I mean, that's exactly where you could have found that kind of stuff.
Totally. Hell yeah.
Their spacesuits are very shiny.
They really are. And they're really and oh gosh, it's so strange seeing the 60s versions of spacesuits and then fast forwarding to 95 with my pick this week and seeing how plump and marshmallowy they look. It's so
But this is one of my favorites
Interesting.
aspects about this movie, being as long as it is and going through as much history as it does. Chuck Yeager's progression from the types of aircraft that he flies,
Oh yeah.
from the 1
in
in 45 and then those awesome jet engine ones in the 60s. The progression of all that was so fun to watch, as well as
Yeah,
their
it's pretty
space
badass.
suits too, because by the time that Gordon Cooper gets up into space, and also Chuck Yeager's helmets and things, those are all evolving as well. And I thought that was so well done to mark the passage of time and how much progress that they had made, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's interesting when you watch a movie and they're trying to show you the progression of time. Like, granted, this is going out of control, but with the new Spider-Man, you see that 4 years pass through TikTok videos, right? With his friends going through college from day one to their final year in college. And like, that's like, oh, okay, so we're watching Spider-Man progress over the last 4 years, and these people are coming into his life over that time. And in The Right Stuff, and so many other movies, it's done a lot differently, but I really, like you said, you nailed it. I liked how the planes change, the helmets change, the suits change, all of the evolution of everything throughout the course of time in The Right Stuff was done very well.
Good. I'm so glad that you think that, and I just thought it helped tell the story so well, so I wanted to bring that up. And unfortunately, this movie, it had a $27 million budget.
Not bad.
It made $21 million in the box office.
All right. Well, the 80s, you look at the 80s. The 80s were about animation and sci-fi and action-packed stuff, and this is, while this is absolutely an adventure movie, it is a dialogue adventure movie. So like, I feel similar to how I felt when it ended. I was like, okay, well, yeah, that was good. And then I marinated. I'm like, no, that's fucking great. And I think a lot of people similar to me, maybe felt that way. And it's tough when a movie ends, so many people are so quick to be like, I fucking loved it, I fucking hated it. And like, I try to do my best over several years now to marinate and just kind of think on what exactly did I like, what exactly did I not like. And very, very little did I not like in The Right Stuff. Oh,
I'm so glad to hear that. And I'm so glad you want to watch it in the future. The good news is that it became a huge hit during video rental. So
sweet.
By the late 80s and early 90s, it became very popular, and that's why now it's considered a classic. It's rated very highly everywhere.
Big time.
And so this, I feel like, is one of those movies that are kind of forgotten and need to be revisited. But even though it completely bombed in the box office to a point where it was one of the causes for Alan Ladd losing his production company and needing MGM to swoop in with the debt, it was nominated for a ton of Oscars.
Oh, sweet.
8, in fact. It was nominated for Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor for Sam Shepard playing Chuck Yeager.
Oh, wow.
Best Cinematography for Zoe and Emily's dad. Best Art Direction and Set Decoration. It won for Best Sound.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Best Film Editing, Best Sound Effects Editing, and Best Original Score by Bill Conti.
Oh, hell yeah. Bill Conti, we've done some Contis.
We have.
We have to have. Yeah, there's no way we haven't. I know that
composer.
name. Yeah, big time.
Well, he did the Rocky theme first and foremost. So
I've never seen a Rocky movie, but that's cool.
You would know the theme song though.
Would I? Oh, okay. I don't know why. Okay, I thought that was part of Eye of the Tiger. I totally thought that was Eye of the Tiger, something.
So
I thought that was totally
Eye of the Tiger appears in the movie, but it's not part of the score.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, okay, great. Well, there we go. Cool. I definitely know the Rocky theme.
You do. And to put all of this into perspective and give some more weight to this movie than we already have, there was a 23% chance of a normal pilot dying during the course of a 20-year career back then. The odds of dying for a test pilot were 53%.
Whoa.
In the 40s and 50s, when they were in Rosamond at Edwards Air Force Base, they averaged 1 death a week.
There was a lot of funerals in this movie.
There were. And so I want to give some context as to, even though this might not be an action-oriented movie like we were thinking because it's about planes and space race and stuff, this movie is important. It has weight to it. It's well done. It's well acted. Has a great cast. And as John and I have said, it has a spectacular score too. Everything about this movie is well done. And I'm really glad you loved it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that is my epic space movie that introduces us all to NASA. And now we are going to fast forward only a couple of years, like 6 years in real life, and get into John's movie this week.
All right, yes. My film takes place between April 11th and April 17th of 1970. My film, Boy, oh boy. This film has been a staple of my life since it came out in theaters. My dad took my sister and I to see it at the Cinemark on Palmdale Boulevard in Palmdale, as we were just discussing Palmdale and Lancaster. I have the 4K of this. I have a VHS copy. I have a DVD copy. I've loved this movie ever since I saw it for the first time because I actually didn't know this story when I saw this movie for the first time. This movie did come out in 1995. This film stars Tom Hanks, our good buddy, Bill Paxton, rest in peace, Kevin Bacon, Gary Sinise, Ed Harris, Kathleen Quinlan, and a handful of other actors, especially a lot of character actors that show up in not only Terminator 2, but Back to the Future. And Clint Howard is also in this movie because his brother Ron Howard is the director of this movie. This movie is based on a book called Lost Moon by Jeffrey Kluger and Jim Lovell. Screenplay is written by William Broyles Jr. and Al Reinhardt. This is Apollo 13. Oh my gosh, this was a great revisit. I think I've watched this movie every like year and a half to 2 years since I saw it for the first time. Oh my gosh, it's one of those movies where you know the outcome, but I cannot help but get emotionally destroyed.
So
every
emotional
time.
in this movie.
Every freaking time. And I love that the movie is rated PG for language and emotional intensity because they got it exactly right. It is emotionally intense. So if you don't know anything about Apollo 13, you have been missing out on one of the greatest movies from the 90s. I haven't done 1995 in a very long time, so let's get into it. 1995, this movie comes out. Apollo 13 is based on the space flight Apollo 13. Now, we all know Apollo 11 was the flight that took Neil Armstrong and Michael Collins up to the moon. Now, Apollo 13 is on their way to the moon again, and Jim Lovell, played by Tom Hanks, is the commander. He is going to walk on the moon. He has been so excited about this, and he's got his crew, Fred Hayes, played by Bill Paxton, and Ken Mattingly, played by Gary Sinise. They are getting ready at NASA at Houston and going through all the rigorous testing that they need to do to get to the moon, to get to launch day. And unfortunately, we get word that Ken Mattingly has tested positive for the potentiality of getting measles. So they have to, unfortunately, knock Ken Mattingly out and bring in Jack Swigert, played by Kevin Bacon. And you were just talking about Kevin Bacon. And I gotta say, there's some great documentaries on the 4K of Apollo 13, and Kevin Bacon does a fantastic impression of Ron Howard during that documentary.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really, really great. Yeah.
I
will talk about that in just a few minutes. But anyway, these three guys are now on their way. They've passed all their tests. They're ready to go. They're ready to get launched into space on Apollo 13 out of Houston in Texas. I have been to the Kennedy Space Center. It was a fully life-changing experience. I've also been to Johnson Space Center, where Houston is, and that was also another life-changing experience. Two completely different trips that I took with my wife, and so glad that I got to experience both of those with my wife, because the first time that we ever went was, I think, might have been the first time she ever actually saw me cry, was when we were at the Kennedy Space Center and sitting inside mission control and watching videos of Apollo 11 go to the moon. Blew me absolutely the fuck away. And when we watched Apollo 11 for this podcast, actually, I again bawled my eyes out. And in preparation for this episode, there is another documentary similar to Apollo 11 called Apollo 13 Survival that is put together through 7,000 hours of archival footage throughout the launch process and bringing the guys back to planet Earth from their issue that goes awry in the process of getting to the moon. So anyway, let's get back to the story breakdown of Apollo 13. I kind of just gave you a little bit of it. Jim Lovell and Fred Hayes and Jack Swigert are getting launched into space, and they've got a few days until they get to the moon. They got about 250,000 miles till they get up there, and unfortunately, during their process inside the capsule, Jack Swigert is about to stir the tanks. He stirs the tanks, and there is an explosion that unfortunately knocks out one of their oxygen tanks. And now this is where we get the most famous line, one of the most famous lines in cinematic history, and in all of NASA history: Houston, we have a problem. And the actual line that Jim Lovell says is, Houston, we had a problem. It's really not that much of a difference, but just in case anybody's like, well, that's not really the word, that's how it goes down in the movie, and that's how it actually went down when Jim Lovell gets to NASA, because actually Fred Hayes is the first one that says it, and NASA did not copy. So Jim Lovell is the one that reiterates, we have a problem.
Luke, I am your father.
I'm sorry, what was that?
No, I am your father.
I am your father.
The real
exactly.
line.
Yes, that's the real line. Exactly. Lines get thrown around in the cinematic universe all the time, and I'm one of those people that that's not what they said. So now, unfortunately, this disaster has happened in space, several 100,000 miles away from Earth. and just so close to the moon. And Jim Lovell he's so excited about going to the moon, and he's even told his wife Marilyn, played by Kathleen Quinlan, that this is going to be his last flight. And even NASA on the ground before they launch asks him why. And he says, well, when you've got the greatest crew, why go again without the greatest crew? And of course, he believes that Fred Haise, and this is still when Ken Mattingly is actually slated to be on the crew, but Jack Swigert ultimately ends up taking his place. So now that we have experienced this unfortunate disaster on Apollo 13, we are now brought back to Mission Control with Gene Kranz, played just absolutely stupendously by Ed Harris. And we just talked about him. He played John Glenn in Your Pick V. Mm-hmm. And now, look at this. 12 years later, he's playing Gene Kranz, the flight director of not just Apollo 13, but the Gemini missions and the Apollo missions. And if anybody out there wants to read an incredible book, Failure is Not an Option by Gene Kranz, his memoir of being the flight director during the Gemini and Apollo missions, is the greatest book I've ever read on NASA. I read that book in 6 days. I could not stop reading that thing. I burned through it. It's amazing. And some of the interviews that I watched during the research of this podcast and Apollo 13, watching him discuss the procedures, the lines that we see on screen that Ed Harris says, Gene Kranz literally said, especially when this is not a guessing game, we got to do this correctly. Failure's not an option actually was not a line that he ever did say during the process of it all, but he absolutely said to the NASA director, with all due respect, sir, I believe this is going to be our finest hour. And that is when tells NASA's director that they are going to get, so incredible.
No, Jamie Lee Curtis said failure is not an option to Bill Paxton in True Lies.
Yes, she did. Isn't that incredible? So amazing. I love that Bill Paxton is in this, and his interviews in the documentary of making this movie are also just fantastic. Everybody was just so on board with. Anyway, okay, before we get into all that, now NASA, Gene Kranz, and everybody at Mission Control at Houston and at the Johnson Space Center is doing what they can to figure out a way to get Jim Lovell, Fred Haise, and Jack Swigert home safely, so they don't actually end up passing in space. So from their pod that they're in, they're told to go into the LEM, which is the lunar module, which is going to be their safe house. And throughout all of this, they're losing oxygen and temperature is dropping. Fred Haise ultimately develops a fever and an infection. Beyond all of everything going on, they're trying to figure out a way to not die of carbon dioxide poisoning. So the guys on the ground in Houston come up with a way for them to build a filtration system so that their air supply can actually be filtered properly so that they can actually make it. And what they ultimately come to realize is what they need to do is get them to slingshot around the moon with the moon's gravity and then ultimately shoot back to planet Earth and ultimately survive their re-entry process. And for the rest of the movie, we are along for the ride. 2 hours and 20 minutes, mind you. I would say about 30 minutes of this is all on the ground, and the rest of this is really in the capsule with these three guys. Mm-hmm. And, of course, going back and forth through Mission Control with Ed Harris and Clint Howard and everybody else while they're trying to figure this out. And emotional intensity is exactly why this movie is rated parental guidance. Just an absolutely incredible movie. If you are V in Mind's age or older, you know the ultimate outcome of the Apollo 13 mission, but it still is one of those things similar to Apollo 11 and similar to so many different things. Like for me, even watching like September 11th videos and true crime documentaries, stuff like that is still so emotionally engraved in me as a human being. And this was one of those few movies in the early 90s that I don't know anybody that doesn't like this movie. I'm going to be straight up. This is one of those few movies that everybody that's seen this movie likes this movie, and there's multitude of reasons why. But my main reason for it is because of what was able to get done for these guys, and the ultimate outcome of it all. America, fuck yeah, is how I feel every time. Every time I watch Apollo 13.
God, that's so
perfect. They did a re-release last year on IMAX, and I stupidly did not go and see it. Yeah,
what is wrong with
you? I could not get to it. I know it was a thing where with work I could not get off. I couldn't get the time. But I'm going to tell you right now, every time I watch it, it does not matter how many times I've seen this movie. I cry my fucking eyes out.
Oh yeah, me too.
And even watching the documentary on Netflix literally just yesterday. And Gene Kranz, oh gosh, there's a moment in the documentary documentary where he says the really cool thing about watching all this go down, it was just really neat. But the way that he says it and the way that he is like just, you see the tears flowing out of his eyes. He's such a hard guy in the movie, not only played by Ed Harris, but he's got to maintain his composure.
Has to be,
yeah,
exactly.
He can't be this emotional wreck. And then the scene where I can't. So V, it's been a long time for you.
It has.
When did you last watch Apollo 13 and how did it hit you this time around?
It's been a really long time. It's been too long. And God, this movie is so spectacular. Holy shit. This movie's so good.
So fucking good.
The cool thing is it picked up right where my movie left off. And it even talks about the people in my movie, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, it really ties in both very well.
And now that we've watched the right stuff, because we both watched my movie first, as we normally do, it really helps me understand all the astronauts' feelings so much more than I did when I was a kid. In terms of Jim Lovell's frustrations for not being able to go to the moon the first time, and that he wasn't selected, he was backup, and then Ken Mattingly.
For Apollo 8,
Yeah, and Ken Mattingly being grounded, and him being upset about that. Like, it just made so much more sense now. The emotional weight of them not getting chosen and how they are feeling was...
Oh, that scene when Ken's like, well, maybe we could go talk to him, and Lovell's like, it was my call, Ken. He goes, must have been a tough one.
Gut punch.
Fuck.
Gut
And
punch.
the editing is so good. When Swigert gets the call and he's like in his house, he's like, yeah! And then they cut to Mattingly and he's just like destroyed.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh gosh, yeah, the editing in this movie. I'm sorry.
No,
Continue.
it's okay. And in the beginning of this movie, they talk about how Jim Lovell and his crew are slated for Apollo 14. But Alan Shepard and his crew have been bumped because his ear problems flared back up. And that's real. So Alan Shepard, the first man ever into space for the United States, had Meniere's disease, which is a really shitty ear problem. It leads to a lot of vertigo. And that's why a lot of people in America don't know his name, because he was first up. And then for almost 10 years, from like 63 to 1970, he couldn't fly because of his problems and his health. And that's why he was bumped to Apollo 14 and ended up golfing on the moon, because he was slated for 13, which is crazy.
Yeah, so wild.
Everything's, all the spaces are filled in for us now. It's so cool. The score, incredible. Makes me cry every time. That whole entire sequence of their launch, I just start tearing up because the crescendo kicks in. It's got some
James Horner.
Yeah, and it's very much, you hear some Titanic in there. I even heard a little bit of the Abyss, even though that's Alan Silvestri. But just that sweeping, lots of brass and strings. Oh, so good. Such an incredible score.
The launch is, I love the launch in this movie.
It's my favorite sequence of the whole entire movie. That's it's so well done.
Clock started. I love that too. And you see the clock just starting.
So good. And then
I want to watch it right now.
Right? Let's rewatch it.
Yes.
Ed Harris and Gary Sinise are my two favorite actors and characters in this movie. Tom Hanks does a great job, don't get me wrong. So does Bill Paxton. Everybody else, everybody's great. Those character actors in Houston, I was like, I recognize you, and you, and you, and you.
Yep.
But both of those men bring such just a weight to this movie, and this this center of gravity for everyone else that I loved so much.
Good word use.
Thank you. And both men in real life are reported to be amazing humans, especially Gary Sinise. He's basically retired from acting, and all he does is help veterans and their families. He's always at some sort of VA hospital or serving food to veterans. He's an incredible individual. Look up his social media. He's a really, really good guy, and very honest, doesn't brag about it at all. He just lets people know
not at all.
what he's doing and how they can help. Great, great man. And I remember as a teenager watching this movie with my dad at home. He rented it, and all of us watched it together. And I was so upset for Ken Mattingly. I felt so bad for the man who was grounded.
Totally.
And I talked to my dad about it afterwards. I was like, God, it's so unfair that they made him stay home. And I was really upset about it. And he said he remembers when this all happened and how Ken Mattingly is the reason they survived, because he was able to test everything beforehand.
Yeah.
And if he hadn't been on the ground in the simulator practicing and seeing what would work, what sequence would work and what wouldn't, they probably would have died. And I loved that explanation from my father of the situation that seemed to suck ended up being the best thing that could have ever happened for everyone involved.
Absolutely,
and I still
especially
remember that,
because after
20 years later, that conversation.
They bring him in, and when they're like, and he's like, "There's something's wrong with Apollo 13," and he goes into Kennedy Space Center, and oh gosh, the one guy's like, "Do you want a break, Ken?" He goes, "They don't get a break. I'm not taking a break."
I know.
And he's trying to
I loved
figure
it
out how
so
to
much.
reroute power and all this kind of stuff through the lunar module. It's just like, my gosh. And like how, that's another thing about this movie is like how. Every time I watch a space movie or a space documentary, anything with NASA, I'm just like, how?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's actually why putting a square peg in a round hole to fix the filter is my other favorite sequence of this whole movie. Because it just
it's
focuses
amazing.
on their ingenuity. And I know that is the reason why I get so emotional in this film, because it's such an easy way to my heart, is people working together for a cause greater than their own. Like The Martian, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, God,
absolutely.
it just gets me right in the feels when everybody can actually come together and work together and be successful. And, this movie's so good. I love that it's a whole ensemble of characters and they highlight who each person is. Deke from My Movie, who was a test pilot, is now talking to them at Houston. And he even says, like, "Jim, this is Deke." And I was like, "Oh my God, I know who you are."
So awesome. I know, it really was an awesome way to watch both of these movies.
It was.
It's like, it's so,
So the
amazing.
only thing I'm upset about is that it's been this long since I've seen this film. I absolutely need to watch it more often. It's worth revisiting. And it's Ron Howard at his finest. You cannot go wrong.
Yeah. No, I don't think he's made a better movie since this movie. Granted, we're fans of course, How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Rush.
And I'm going to be, Rush, absolutely, great movie. And I'm going to be doing In the Heart of the Sea in the future, but it's so interesting how like, that's Ron Howard, and because he and Tom Hanks hadn't worked together since Splash. And you're kind of thinking like, so Ron Howard's going to do Apollo 13. He comes from Happy Days and he did Splash, and he's got such an interesting track record of movies. And when Brian Grazer and him, because Brian Grazer at Imagine, they are both partners, when Brian Grazer brought it to him, Ron Howard was kind of like, this is interesting. And then he passed it along to Tom Hanks, and he was like, I'm thinking about doing this movie. And Tom Hanks was like, well, if you're thinking about doing it, then I'm going to think about doing it. And then they both agreed literally at that moment, like, all right, well, let's fucking do it. Let's do Apollo 13.
Well, and then Gary Sinise and Tom Hanks reuniting after Forrest Gump was cool, too.
After Forrest Gump, yeah, exactly. I know, it's so awesome. Yeah, it's a great cast of characters, and just the fact that all of these people existed is another thing that just boggles the mind, and I'll never forget when I first saw this movie, and the last 5 minutes of the movie, my sister and I were sitting in front of my dad, and I hear this sniffling, and I turn around and my dad is crying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's the matter? He goes, I'm just so happy. And I'm like, it's a movie. And then we walk out of the movie, he goes, you said it's a movie? John, this happened. And I'm like, what? And that unlocked Pandora's box for me. I'm like, whoa. Because I was still young. I was 9 years old when this movie came out. I didn't know much about my grandfather's work at NASA and working on the Saturn rocket that took Apollo 11 to the fucking moon. Because my grandfather died when I was very young, so I didn't really get a chance to have any of these conversations with him. Recently, my mom sent me a placard or a certificate. I sent it to you. My mom's grandfather was involved in the creation of the fucking atom bomb. He worked with Oppenheimer. So I've had family involved in all this stuff. And I'm not saying that to brag, but it's one of those things where I'm like, gosh, if only I had known about this earlier in life and I could have really picked their brain, that would have been incredible. Yeah, Apollo 13 is absolutely a 2 thumbs up masterpiece of a movie, and I'm so glad that it exists, and it's not like one of those movies where so many different events have been retold over and over again. It's like, this is the Apollo 13 movie. Not likely to get another one, and that's fine. It's not like they're going to do anything better with it.
No,
they can't make it any better than it already is. And the practicality of the movie also, they actually did shoot a lot of the weightlessness stuff in the Vomit Comet. They got permission from NASA and the Air Force. They went up there several times a day, and the throw up scene where Bill Paxton's throwing up, he said that they had to shoot that 12 different times.
What?
So they had to go up there, shoot it, and then land, and then go back up there and shoot it again because it wasn't working out or whatever. So they did a lot of stuff where they had to reshoot things
I
in
thought
the
you were
Vomit
going to say
comic.
it was just real.
No, I imagine it would. No, but that's another thing. Kevin Bacon, Tom Hanks, and Bill Paxton did not actually vomit in the Vomit comic, and they were very happy about that.
Badge of
Ron
honor.
Howard didn't either. Yeah, so they all got like a
That's
round of
impressive.
applause after they had gone up there for the first time while they were doing research for the movie.
Nice.
That's pretty awesome. So Marilyn Lovell has said that Tom Hanks got all the mannerisms and style of talking that Jim Lovell was known for. Tom Hanks got that almost down to a T, so that was pretty sweet. Fred Hayes is actually still alive, but unfortunately Swigert died in the 80s due to cancer, very unfortunately. And Jim Lovell did pass away last year, so he lived till he was 97, which is pretty fucking awesome.
Awesome. Oh, I'm so glad two of them got to see the movie, though. That's cool.
I know, yeah. And Jim Lovell is actually in the movie. He was the captain of the aircraft carrier that welcomes them home after...
Oh, that's so cool.
Is that a spoiler?
No, not yeah. I mean, everybody kind of knows. That's the nice
Historical
thing
spoiler?
doing nonfiction movies. Chuck Yeager had a cameo in my movie. He was the guy in the fedora in the bar looking at Harry Shearer when he's trying to order the Coke in a clean glass, and he just looks at him like, what
yeah.
the That was Chuck Yeager in real life. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Walter Cronkite, as we all know, was one of the major news anchors at the time.
I love him every time I see archival footage of him.
Walter Cronkite. I always think of Bruce Almighty whenever I think of Walter Cronkite now. Ron Howard actually had approached Walter Cronkite and asked him to record a couple of new audio reports for this movie, and Walter Cronkite was all about it, so he did record a couple of new pieces of audio for this movie, which was
cool.
pretty awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now, there's a moment in this movie where they're watching the lunar module go float away after they get into the capsule before they go into re-entry, and they see the damage on the ship itself, and Fred Hayes says she was a beautiful ship, and that's actually a line taken from reality. During the documentary, there are moments where Fred Hayes actually says she was a beautiful ship, and it's really staticky, and they ended up using that in the movie, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be grateful for a ship that wasn't designed to save me that actually saved my life.
Yeah. When Tom Hanks ended up getting cast in the movie, which of course he and Ron Howard had already come to the agreement that he would be, Jim Lovell sent him a telegram that said, "Welcome aboard Apollo 13."
Aw.
Yeah, pretty awesome. This is Ron Howard's favorite movie of his own that he's directed, which makes complete sense because it's so damn good. These spacesuits, and I think we talked about this actually during when we were talking about Armageddon, but it might be the exact dollar amount also from Armageddon, but the spacesuits that they all were wearing each cost $30,000.
I mean, they're designed to keep you alive in a very harsh and unforgiving environment. Makes sense they're expensive.
Yes, absolutely. And V, you were talking about the launch being one of your favorite sequences in the movie, and Ron Howard is quoted saying, as a director, that might be the most cinematic thing I've ever done, and I absolutely love that.
Hell
And he's absolutely
yeah.
right.
It's
so great.
It was so fun watching it on my big TV this week because
Oh, I can only imagine.
the last time I watched it, I was on like a 32-incher, right? Because it's been
Yeah.
long. I was like, holy shit, this movie's gorgeous.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, the restoration to 4K is pretty spectacular.
Oh, God. And the sound,
there's-
incredible.
Oh, I can imagine. There's a lot of really great CGI in this movie for 1995.
Yeah,
and Jim
that's what I
Lovell
forgot to bring
actually
up.
approached... Yeah, well, Jim Lovell approached Ron Howard during a screening and said, "Hey, man, I'm really curious where you got all that new footage from because I've never seen any of that." And he said, "Well, it's actually computer-generated imagery. That's why you haven't seen it before." And Jim Lovell was like, "I thought it was real. It looked exactly how I thought it would look when we were launching."
30 years later, everything
Yeah.
holds up. I was
Oh, it
so
looks
impressed.
spectacular. Yeah, with down to the ice like falling off and
Yeah. The only other movie from the 90s, I think it came out in the 90s. Yeah. The only other movie from the 90s that I can think of that holds up that well is Star Trek First Contact.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Now, going back to Ed Harris, he originally turned down the role of Gene Kranz. He did not want to do it. He didn't think that he could actually bring anything to the role at all.
He's like, dude,
And
I
Ron
already
Howard
played
ended
John
up-
Glenn. Come on.
Right? Yeah. But Ron Howard got him on the phone and was like, "Hey, man, come on. you're Gene Kranz. Like, we got to do this and together. And of course, Ed Harris was down with it. And another thing that I want to actually talk about while we're talking about Gene Kranz and Ed Harris, in the movie, in Mission Control, when the box is dropped off on Gene Kranz's desk and everybody's like, oh, Mrs. Kranz got the vest again. Every launch during the Gemini and the Apollo missions, Gene Kranz's wife made him a new white vest. And he always wore the vest during every day that he was in Mission Control as the flight director. When I was, when I read Failure is Not an Option, and every other chapter was like, and my wife made me another vest. And I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, how many vests do you have? He has to have so many because Gemini and Apollo went for so long, and he was involved just for so long. It's just so incredible.
His vest should be in a museum now.
Absolutely, yeah. And one thing about your movie and my movie that actually shares a thing is the Apollo 13 capsule is actually restored and on display in Kansas as well.
Hey! Oh, we need to go to Kansas. Damn.
I think we do, yeah. Sounds like it.
It'll be on our trip to Iowa when we go to the Field of Dreams field.
Hey, there we go. Hey, if anybody listens in Kansas, what kind of breweries do you have? Get us out there. Give us an incentive.
Way more excited for the barbecue.
Oh yeah, Kansas BBQ.
You know
yeah.
how food motivated I am.
Yes, very much so. All right, 1995, V, what do you think the budget for this movie was?
I bet you it was a lot. I think at least
Okay.
$85 million. For 1995, that's
Ooh.
a lot.
All right, that is a lot. Yes, you were off by about 33 million. It was a $52 million budget.
52, that's it?
52 mil, yeah.
Okay, this has a huge cast.
Yes, it does. Now, granted, this is still the 90s, though. Tom Hanks
But
was,
still.
I think Tom Hanks and Ed Harris might have been like the big names.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Bill Paxton, Aliens, Twister had not yet come out.
He wouldn't have come
True
in
Lies
that
had
much.
come out, but yeah, he was still a character actor. Kevin Bacon had Tremors. He had Footloose. He had
Seriously though,
a couple other movies.
Why do we keep playing this game this way? Because we need
Why
to
not?
reverse. Because last week when I asked you what the budget was for my movie, you guessed exactly. I need to. We will.
Yeah, because I'm better at it than you.
That's why.
Because I was an AD and I know how budgets work.
I worked at
That's
stunts
probably
and I
why.
didn't care. I just hope they spent a lot of money.
Exactly, yeah. I just, you waited for your paycheck to show up, and I totally get that.
Oh my god. Okay.
So
that
yeah,
is
52 mil.
really impressive.
Yeah. Now, domestic gross. What do you think? 1995 domestic gross
This movie
of Apollo
was
13.
massive. It was over $100 million.
Yes, it was. Yeah, you're right. But do you have
That's
a
as
number
far
that
as
you
I'm
wanna
going to go.
drop?
No, I'm not getting any
Over
more
100 mil. Okay, cool.
descriptive specific than that because I suck at this game right now.
All right, $174.6 million
See, I was
domestically.
right. It was over 100
Yeah, you were over 100 mil. Yeah, you were right. Okay. Now, how about worldwide? How would you guess worldwide box office gross?
$286 million.
You are off by just under 100 million, $355.7 million dollars.
But it was not. You said it was 1995, so I didn't want to be too ridiculous again.
Hey, we all know how big this movie
It was huge.
This was a big ass fucking movie.
I'm not playing this game anymore.
Okay. This movie was nominated for several Academy Awards. It was nominated for Best Sound, Best Film Editing, Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor for Ed Harris.
Hell yeah.
Best Supporting Actress for Kathleen Quinlan. Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Art Direction, Set Decoration, Best Visual Effects, and Best Original Score. It won 2. It won Best Film Editing for Mike Hill and Daniel Hanley. It also won Best Sound for Rick Doyer, Steve Pedersen, Scott Milan, and David McMillan. And when the Best Picture of the Year was announced at the Oscars, Brian Grazer saw a bee roll off of Sidney Poitier's mouth, and he thought that Apollo 13 won because Brian Grazer was the producer. It was Braveheart that won Best Picture that year.
Alan Ladd.
So Brian Grazer stood up, but then he sat back down, and he was sitting with Ron Howard, Tom Hanks, Jim Lovell, and a couple other members of the cast. Jim Lovell looks at him, puts his hand on his knee, and goes, "It's okay, Brian. I didn't make it to the moon either."
Oh, now I'm gonna cry again.
I know. When I heard that in the documentary, I laughed and I kind of cried. I was like, that's hilarious.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I'm going to riot because there were only 2 nominees for Best Visual Effects at the time. Apollo
Oh.
13
Yeah.
and Babe.
Oh, damn. Why couldn't they share the best visual effect award that
Come
year? Babe is such a...
on.
Babe... Oh, I think Babe might be on my pick, on my list in the future. I don't know. Maybe not. I might have
should
to
be.
put it on there. Such a great movie. I still have a VHS copy of Babe.
Oh.
But that is Apollo 13. If you have not seen it, you really got to get on it. It is streaming on Netflix. I watched my 4K copy. It's a masterpiece.
It is.
And both of these movies were these were The Right Stuff and Apollo 13. I don't think there would have been a better pairing for NASA movies.
Thank you.
Because they're both accurate and they're both very true to actually what happened. So that is our picks for this week.
So fun. I'm so glad you loved my movie. I'm glad we went back to space. You and I love that topic.
Yeah, we do.
Great episode all around. Thank you so much for
Pretty damn good.
bringing Apollo 13 back in my life. I cannot believe I've waited this long to rewatch it.
I can't either. The last time I watched it, I had just got the 4K, and Amy and I were still living in Studio City, and I put it on. She goes, "How many times have you seen this?" I don't know, like 13? I wasn't even trying to be funny, but I was like, I think I've watched it like 13, 14 times. So that is our NASA-filled episode, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Please do rate, review, subscribe. Follow us on all social media, and I'm curious, and you might have already, but I don't know. Would you watch The Right Stuff with your grandmother?
I totally would. Definitely a movie for people who are adults, people who have the patience.
Big time, yes.
No sex scenes, very little violence. There's a really cool transition from black and white to color in the very beginning of this movie that we didn't talk about.
Oh, yeah. I completely forgot to mention that. I loved that. That was
good.
awesome.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I really want my dad to rewatch it. I'm sure he hasn't seen it in quite a long time. It's actually available on YouTube and Pluto right now if you want to stream it.
Nice.
And John, you absolutely watched Apollo 13 with your grandma?
I imagine at least once or twice. Yeah, before my grandfather died, he was a big space nut as well as a horror nut like my grandmother. So I think we watched it like once or twice when it was on TV. Awesome. And really interestingly, I the other day put on my Nutty Professor VHS tape, and I posted this on our social media. But there was a trailer for Apollo 13 on the Eddie Murphy Nutty Professor VHS, and it was for the VHS release of Apollo 13 in 1996, and the VHS cost $22.98 back then.
That's a lot back then.
And now they're $1.50. Well, it makes sense though, and because DVDs are about that now. Even 4Ks are like $30-$45 depending on the how many discs you get. So I think back then, like so many different VHS movies that I have from when my parents bought them, like even like Lion King and Goofy Movie, like they were like $16 to $20. Mm-hmm. And
the amount of money that our parents spent on Disney movies for us.
Hell yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
But that's why my dad...
And I still spend $20, but they're like $1.50 each now, so I get 20 tapes.
I don't think I ever told you, but my dad was a prolific recorder.
Oh, really?
We had hundreds of VHS that had recorded movies on them.
Oh, nice. I've got a couple of those myself.
Because he had that whole
love
setup.
Those.
Yeah. And so he would have 2 or 3 movies per VHS recorded, and then we'd write them down on the label.
There you go.
We had a book. God, childhood memory unlocked right now. We had a booklet that was a directory of all of the VHS tapes we had. We had several hundred. They were all numbered, and then it would say on each numbered which movies were on that. So you'd go to
that is awesome.
number 35, and it had Romancing the Stone and like a couple other movies on it. Yeah. Oh yeah, we
Does that
took
still
that
exist
seriously.
in like a box in your parents' garage somewhere?
I hope so, because that needs to go
I
in
hope so
my
too.
movie room for sure.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I have a bunch of VHS that I would like record off of like Disney Channel or like ABC, and gosh, so many commercials from back then. Of course, like our age, the most famous one was the Sears air conditioner commercial, where the wife is like, I'll call tomorrow. You'll call now. I'll call now. If anybody's our age, you know which one I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
And even the Pine Sol commercials, that Power of Pine Sol, like so many commercials that are on those VHS tapes. But oh gosh, yeah.
My favorite were those Orbit's gum commercials in the late 90s and
oh
early 2000s.
Gosh, you lint liquor. Yeah. Dirty mouth. Wash it out with Orbit. I actually had to show I pulled out that on YouTube when at my last bar. My coworker Audrey, she's 21 or 22, and I was like putting some Trident in my mouth. I'm like, hey, do you remember those Orbit commercials? And I was like, wait a minute, how old are you? She was like 21. I'm like, okay, watch this. And I pulled up the lint liquor commercial. I was like, do you remember Orbit gum? She goes, I love Orbit gum. Like, well, these were the commercials back then. Wow, we're going down a rabbit hole right now. But anyway, That is our NASA episode. Glad we'd both watch these movies with our grandparents, grandmothers especially. V, what are we doing next week? We're going back to long movies again.
Sorry. We are.
No, it's fine.
They're great movies, though. And another movie that you've never
Yes.
seen before. Really excited to introduce you to it, so buckle up for that one. Hope you enjoy it when you watch it. Since we did our contemporary Western episode just in the last couple of weeks, with accidentally Josh Brolin in both of them, and we realized, and I realized, that we hadn't done a Western in a very, very long time. I kind of wanted to stick with that, and I pulled something from our schedule that was on our list. I picked a Western, funny enough, starring a guy who I don't like at all anymore, but I do like this movie.
Yeah.
And supporting actor of a guy that you actually really hate. Oh, shit. Because this stars
Yeah, this is interesting.
Brad Pitt, Casey Affleck, and a whole bunch of other people. This is The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford.
You're taking my long movie titles away from me these days.
What the hell is going on?
I don't know.
You're stealing the whole budget thing from me. We're having some sort of weird role reversal lately, and
Yes,
I
we
can't
are.
wait to see how it plays out.
Me too.
I just thought it would be a perfect pairing for your movie.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree with that. I have not seen your pick, and I can't remember. Have you seen mine?
Oh, yeah. I hated it when I watched it in my 20s. I'm really excited to revisit it
interesting.
and see if I like it this time, because I've only ever seen it once.
All right, here we go. This movie actually turned me on to Paul Dano because I really hated Little Miss Sunshine when I first saw it. This movie, other than Paul Dano, stars Daniel Day-Lewis. This movie's written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, who unfortunately took the Best Picture award at the Oscars last year. This is There Will Be Blood, based on the book Oil by Upton Sinclair, and you can stream it on Paramount Plus. I have a DVD copy of it. I should have this on 4K, but I do not. If you have not seen this movie, I highly recommend it. The soundtrack by Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead is magnificent. The cinematography is absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to discuss it and see what V thinks 20 years later.
Yeah.
So there it is. That is our next, and mine is 2 hours and 38 minutes, just a little bit longer than my pick this week, and shorter than Cleopatra by an hour and a half.
By like almost 2 hours, yeah.
Yeah, by almost 2 full hours.
On what version you choose.
Exactly. So yeah, follow along if you care to. If not, all good, and you can hang out with us next week. Rate, review, subscribe, follow us on all social media. And film is a form of art, and in art all opinions are valid, except if you think.
NASA and the history of American spaceflight isn't vitally important to our knowledge base.
I agree. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Cheers, everybody.
Bye-bye.